Hey guys, we're looking at the Unit 8 test review for algebra, and we're going to start off by using the quadratic formula. So it says, for number 1, solve using the quadratic formula. Well, first thing we need to do is identify our a, b, and c values. So a is equal to 2, b is equal to -1, and c is equal to -10. And then we can put this into our quadratic formula. So x is equal to -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. And our b value is -1. Our a value is 2. And our c value is -10. And from here, you're going to use the calculator. You'll use the n/d button. And you've got negative, parentheses, -1, plus the square root of -1 squared minus 4 times 2 times -10, all divided by 2 times 2. And guys, just a couple of calculator tips. Make sure you're using the negative button and not the subtraction button when you're meaning for something to be negative. And do use the subtraction button in front of that 4 inside of the radical. So when we do this, our first solution, so when we use the addition sign, it's going to be that x is equal to 5/2. You also could write this as 5/2, comma 0. And then our second solution, so that's when we put in the positive. When we change addition to subtraction, we will get that x is equal to -2, or you can say -2, comma 0. And those would be our solutions. We're going to do the same thing for number 2. We're going to say that a is equal to 2. We've got b is equal to 7. And c equals -4. So I can put that into my quadratic formula again. And guys, when you are doing your test, we want to see you actually put this in the quadratic formula. That's going to be part of showing your work. Show us where you input these values. So I've got b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, where your b value is 7, your a value is +2, and your c value is a -4. So once again, we hit n/d in our calculator. Negative parentheses 7 plus the square root of parentheses 7 squared minus 4 times 2 times -4, all over 2 times 2. And when we do addition, our solution is going to be 1/2. So that's 1/2, comma 0. And when we change addition to subtraction, our solution is going to be -4, so x equals -4, and that's -4, comma 0. And those would be our two solutions for that one. Now, I know that these say solve for a quadratic formula, but you should be able to look at 3 and be like, oh, this is a difference of 2 squares. But since this test is focused on the quadratic formula, I'm going to go ahead and solve it using that route. But you've got a few different ways to do this in your toolbox. You could solve by the square root method when we just asked you to solve not by a particular method. So keep that in mind. But because of this, our a value is equal to 9. We don't have a b term because we don't have a term with just the x variable, so just the linear term. So our b is going to equal 0. And our c equals -16. So I've got x equals -b, my apologies there, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a, where b is 0, a is 9, and c is -16. So in our calculators, we're going to do the fraction button, so n/d. -0 plus the square root of 0 squared minus 4 times 9 times negative 16, all over 2 times 9. So one of our solutions is going to be that x is equal to 4/3. So that's 4/3, comma 0. And then when I switch addition to subtraction, we get that x is equal to negative 4/3. So negative 4/3, comma 0. And guys, you should be able to see this pattern because this is a difference of two squares, so our solution should be the same number, different signs. Last but not least, we've got 2x squared minus 8x plus 8. If we were factoring, you would notice that there's a GCF of 2, but we're not factoring in this case. We're just solving using the quadratic formula. So my a is going to be 2, b is going to be negative 8, and c is going to be positive 8. So I have x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a, where b, once again, watch your signs, b is negative 8, a is positive 2, and c is a positive 8. So in my calculator, I've got negative 8 plus the square root of negative 8 squared, and make sure that's in parentheses, because if you don't put it in parentheses, your calculator is going to do 8 squared and then make it negative. So keep those parentheses. It's very important that when you are squaring a negative, you want a negative multiplied by a negative to be a positive. If you don't do this, you will get a domain error within your calculator because you'll have a radical that has a negative underneath it, and our calculators cannot do negative radicals. So again, I'm at negative 8 squared within my calculator, minus 4 times 2 times 8, all divided by 2 times 2. So my first solution when I did addition was x equals 2. And I'm going to change addition to subtraction within my calculator. And I also get that x equals 2. So remember that this is a special case. If I go to graph this, I'm going to have something that looks along the lines of 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's going to go above that graph, and that's okay. But when you graph it, you should have your vertex and your x-intercept at positive 2. It's going to look like something along those lines. So our vertex and our x-intercept are the same point. All right, stay tuned for the next video, and we will look at vertex.